Welcome to Epic Oracles, where today we're about to shatter a myth as old as time itself. You've heard Zeus called the king of the gods, right? But what if I told you his crown wasn't as secure as you thought? Get ready to see Olympus in a whole new light. For centuries, we've pictured Zeus as the unshakable ruler of Mount Olympus, hurling thunderbolts and commanding the heavens. But the truth is far more exciting. Zeus's reign was filled with challenges, rebellions, and near defeats that'll make your head spin. From family feuds to monstrous threats, we're about to uncover the shocking events that almost toppled the so-called king of the gods. You'll witness Olympian uprisings, earth-shaking battles, and divine power plays that will change how you see Greek mythology forever. So, are you ready to question everything you thought you knew about Zeus? Let's find out if he truly deserves the title of king, or if it's just another myth waiting to be busted. You might think Zeus was born into power, but his journey to the throne was anything but easy. Imagine being born knowing your father wants to eat you. That's exactly what Zeus faced. His father, Cronus, had a nasty habit of swallowing his children whole to prevent them from overthrowing him. Talk about family issues. But Zeus's mother, Rhea, had other plans. She hid baby Zeus away on the island of Crete, giving Cronus a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes instead. Cronus, not the brightest spark, swallowed it without a second thought. Meanwhile, Zeus grew up in secret, preparing for the day he'd challenge his father. When Zeus came of age, he didn't just confront Cronus, he outsmarted him. With the help of Metis, Zeus tricked Cronus into drinking a special potion. The result? Cronus vomited up all of Zeus's siblings, who had been living in his stomach. Gross, right? But this was just the beginning of Zeus's fight for power. The regurgitation of his siblings kicked off a war that would shake the foundations of the world. The Titanomachy, as it's known, was a 10-year battle between the young Olympians and the old guard of Titans. Imagine the earth trembling, mountains crumbling, and the sky itself seeming to split apart. That's the kind of chaos we're talking about. For a decade, neither side could gain the upper hand. The Olympians, led by Zeus, fought with all their might. But the Titans were no pushovers. It wasn't until the Cyclopes gifted Zeus with his famous thunderbolts that the tide began to turn. These weren't just any weapons, they were game changers. With his new thunderbolts in hand, Zeus was able to tip the scales in favor of the Olympians. The Titans were defeated, and Zeus emerged victorious. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Zeus defeats the bad guys, takes the throne, and lives happily ever after as the undisputed king of the gods. But here's where it gets interesting. Even after this massive victory, Zeus's authority wasn't absolute. He might have won the war, but the peace was far from secure. Zeus had to divide the realms among his brothers to keep them happy. Poseidon got the sea, Hades the underworld, and Zeus kept the heavens and earth for himself. This division of power shows us that Zeus couldn't just do whatever he wanted. He had to negotiate, compromise, and keep his fellow gods satisfied. It's a far cry from the image of an all-powerful, unquestioned ruler we often see in popular culture. And let's not forget about that pesky prophecy, the one that said one of Zeus's own children would overthrow him. Sound familiar? It's the same prophecy that led Cronus to swallow his kids in the first place. Zeus was so worried about this that he swallowed his first wife, Metis, when she was pregnant. Talk about history repeating itself. Zeus's path to becoming king of the gods was rocky, to say the least. He had to overcome his father's attempts to literally eat him, fight a decade-long war, and then navigate the tricky waters of divine politics. And even after all that, his position was far from secure. You might think that after defeating the Titans and establishing his rule, Zeus would have smooth sailing ahead. But the drama on Mount Olympus was just getting started. Imagine the shock when some of the most powerful gods decided they'd had enough of Zeus's reign. We're talking about a family feud of epic proportions. At the center of this cosmic rebellion were three major players: Hera, Zeus's wife and queen; Poseidon, his brother and ruler of the seas; and Athena, his own daughter and goddess of wisdom. these weren't just minor deities causing trouble. These were heavyweights of the Olympian pantheon. Their plan? To bind Zeus in unbreakable chains. It wasn't just a petty disagreement. This was a full-blown coup attempt. Picture the scene. The king of the gods, sprawled out on his golden throne, completely unaware that his closest family members were plotting against him. The rebels chose their moment carefully. They waited until Zeus was deep in slumber, probably dreaming of his next romantic conquest. Hera, master of deception, had slipped a potent drug into Zeus's wine earlier that evening. As he lay there helpless and unconscious, the conspirators moved in with their chains. But here's where things get really interesting. Just as they were about to succeed, an unexpected hero entered the scene. Enter Thetis, a sea nymph with connections in high places. She got wind of the plot and knew exactly who to call for backup. Briareus, one of the legendary 100-handed giants. Briareus wasn't just any ally. Imagine a massive being with 100 arms, each capable of wielding a weapon or grappling with a god. When he showed up on Olympus, the rebels took one look at him and decided maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all. The sight of Briareus was enough to send Hera, Poseidon, and Athena scurrying back to their divine domains. Their grand plan crumbled in an instant, all because of one intimidating giant. It's almost comical to imagine these powerful gods, who had been so confident in their scheme, suddenly losing their nerve. This failed rebellion reveals so much about the complex power dynamics among the gods. It shows us that even Zeus, with all his thunderbolts and authority, wasn't immune to challenges from within his own divine family. The very gods, who were supposed to support his rule, were the ones trying to overthrow him. But it also demonstrates something crucial about Zeus's position. His power wasn't just about raw strength or the ability to throw lightning bolts. It was built on a network of alliances and the fear he inspired in others. When Briareus showed up, it wasn't just his 100 hands that scared off the rebels. It was the reminder of Zeus's powerful connections. Zeus didn't take this attempted coup lightly. He punished the ringleaders severely. Hera, his own wife, was hung from the heavens with anvils tied to her feet. Poseidon and Apollo were forced into a year of hard labor, building the walls of Troy. These harsh punishments sent a clear message to anyone else who might be thinking of challenging Zeus's authority. But here's the twist. Despite these harsh punishments, Zeus couldn't just rule with an iron fist. He still had to negotiate and compromise with the other gods. After all, they each had their own realms of power and influence. Zeus might have been king, but he was king of a divine democracy of sorts, where other gods had a say in how things were run. This episode shows us that Zeus's rule wasn't the absolute monarchy we often imagine. It was more like a precarious balancing act, constantly at risk of toppling. He had to be not just powerful, but politically savvy, always watching his back and making sure he kept enough gods on his side. Just when you thought Zeus had faced his toughest challenges, along came a threat that would make even the king of the gods tremble. We're talking about Typhon, a monstrous giant so terrifying that even the bravest Olympians fled at the sight of him. Imagine a creature so massive it dwarfed mountains, with 100 dragon heads spewing fire from its shoulders. This wasn't your average monster. Typhon was born to challenge Zeus's rule, and he came frighteningly close to succeeding. The clash between Zeus and Typhon was a battle for the ages. The earth shook, the sky darkened, and mortals cowered in fear as these two titans of power went head to head. Zeus, armed with his mighty thunderbolts, faced off against Typhon's raw, chaotic strength. At first, it seemed like Zeus had met his match. Typhon's fury was unlike anything he'd ever faced before. The monster's 100 heads roared with voices that mimicked everything from the growls of lions to the cries of bulls. It was a cacophony of terror that would have sent lesser gods running for the hills. But Zeus wasn't about to give up his throne without a fight. He hurled thunderbolt after thunderbolt at Typhon, each strike powerful enough to level a mountain. Yet Typhon kept coming, shrugging off Zeus's attacks, like they were nothing more than pesky mosquito bites. The battle raged on, with neither side willing to back down. Zeus found himself on the defensive, something we've rarely seen in his other conflicts. Typhon was relentless, pushing Zeus to his absolute limits. Then came a moment that could have changed the course of Greek mythology forever. In a stunning turn of events, Typhon managed to overpower Zeus. The king of the gods, who we've always seen as invincible, was suddenly vulnerable. Hesiod tells us that Typhon would have come to reign over mortals and immortals had not the father of men and gods been quick to perceive it. This was Zeus's darkest hour. The monster didn't just defeat Zeus, it humiliated him. In a twist that sounds more like a horror story than a myth, Typhon ripped out Zeus's sinews and tendons. Yes, you heard that right. The mighty Zeus was left helpless, unable to move or defend himself. It seemed like the end of his reign was at hand. But just when all hope seemed lost, Zeus proved why he was the king of the gods. Summoning every ounce of his divine power, he managed to recover his strength. With a fury that matched Typhon's own, Zeus thundered hard and mightily in a final, desperate assault. The tide of battle turned. Zeus's renewed attack caught Typhon off guard, and the monster found itself on the defensive. In a display of power that would be remembered for eons, Zeus finally overcame Typhon, casting the defeated monster into the depths of Tartarus. Zeus had won, but at what cost? This battle revealed a side of the king of the gods we rarely see: vulnerable, desperate, and dangerously close to defeat. It showed that even the mightiest of the Olympians could be challenged and nearly overthrown. The aftermath of the battle with Typhon left Zeus victorious, but it also exposed the fragility of his rule. If a single monster could come so close to deposing him, what did that say about the security of his position? It's a question that casts a long shadow over Zeus's reign. This epic confrontation serves as a powerful reminder that in the world of Greek mythology, no one's power is absolute. Even Zeus, with all his thunderbolts and divine authority, could find himself at the brink of defeat. We've seen Zeus face rebellions, monsters, and family feuds that shook Olympus to its core. From the Titanomachy to Typhon's assault, Zeus's reign was far from secure. Even his own family tried to overthrow him. These challenges reveal a complex power dynamic among the gods, suggesting that King of the Gods might be more of a lofty title than an absolute truth. So, what does this mean for Greek mythology as a whole? It's time to look at these ancient stories with fresh eyes. What other facts might we be taking for granted? The world of myths is full of surprises, waiting to be uncovered. In the end, Zeus's story teaches us that power, even divine power, is never absolute. It's a constant struggle, full of compromise and unexpected twists. What do you think? Has this changed how you see Zeus and Greek mythology? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more myth-busting adventures.